Hey guys, what's going on? I'm here today to talk about something I haven't really talked about on the channel, but I have a lot of interest and a lot of maybe passion for this. There are a lot of opinions on Pioneer on the internet, and I want to come forward and give you my opinion that I think is more correct than most of the opinions I hear. To be honest, I feel that a lot of the opinions I hear are from people who don't play Pioneer, who just complain because they have to play it to qualify in X, Y, or Z. I don't feel like these people actually play the format. I don't actually think they know what they're talking about. So a lot of people attribute the problems with this format to Rakdos Midrange, Monogreen Devotion, Arclight Phoenix. People basically say that these are the only decks that anyone ever plays and they'll never go away. However, while these decks make up a good portion of the meta, they are far from the only good decks in Pioneer. I think a lot of content creators' grievances with the format are misguided and low-key can be attributed to skill issues. Pioneer is not just 3 decks. If you actually look at the tournament results or play on Arena, you will very quickly see that this is just not the case. We're going to look through some top 8s here real quick. These all vary, right? But do you see only 3 decks in all of these? Do you see how different this is? Like, and even though, yes, like Rakdos is popular, Monogreen is popular, these things are popular, yes, there are a lot of other decks that are competing, like significant competitors. And it's very disingenuous to say that the whole format is just these 3 decks, which, by the way, don't even make up 30% of the format by themselves. Pioneer definitely has more viable tier 1 decks than most people say. I think those include, but are not limited to, the following: Lotus Field combo, Abzan Greasefang, Mono White Humans, Azorius Spirits, Boros Convoke, Izzet Creativity, and arguably a lot more. And to be clear, I do agree with the community that Pioneer has a problem, but it's not diversity. Most Pioneer decks boil down to like one of 3 basic strategies. You have interaction piles, which include like your Rakdos midrange, your Izzet control, shells, basic control in general. Then you have aggro decks, right? Which are all of these decks that are just on the ground, they're trying to kill you really fast. And then you have combo decks, which is your Monogreen Devotion, Lotus Field, Greasefang. They're trying to do something really BS really early on in the game. There are a lot of different decks in this format, but they all have to do one thing. They have to threaten to win on turn 4, or they have to stop the other player from winning before turn 4. If you played Old Modern, this is going to remind you a lot of that. It was a turn 4 format. The strategies are diverse enough that it's very difficult to keep solid opening hands in game 1. This leads to one player dunking on the other in game 1, mostly based on what kind of hand they have. For example, a Rakdos midrange player has a removal heavy hand against Lotus Field, or a Boros Convoke player takes a fast and easily disruptible hand against a removal pile like Rakdos midrange. I think a lot of content creators play the format and don't really understand this. They feel like they keep like a good hand and they don't understand why they lost. I think like a perfect example of this is like Rakdos midrange players, right? When they mulligan, they're just looking for like Fable the Mirror Breaker, and if it has that, okay, they can keep it. But like, what happens if you're against one of these combo decks? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many more considerations than that. And while this is a skill issue that would be remedied by just a better player, the core frustration is actually really reasonable and is closely linked to the problem. If we're being realistic, Magic is just a greatly accelerated version of the game it used to be. Many permanents threaten to win the game on their own now, which means that you need to answer them or win before they kill you. Some examples of this are Fable the Mirror Breaker, Ledger Shredder, Esika's Chariot, Adelaine, Resplendent Cathar. This pushes the meta to interaction piles and speed racers. This also means it's better to play early in a game instead of ramping up to something that may take over the game, like Atali Primal Conqueror or Atraxa Grand Unifier, which we see a lot of in Standard right now. What's more is going second results in a significant tempo loss that makes a lot of matchups just feel unplayable. So why do people actually flock to these decks like Rakdos Midrange and Izzet Phoenix? It's pretty simple. These decks have a more even matchup spread. Players want to have fun and not get dumpstered, and these decks are more likely to have even games. These decks have a lot of interaction and are highly adaptive, especially post-board. They make the play experience less one-sided one way or the other, and give the player more agency in a game of Magic. Now, you might have noticed I excluded Monogreen Devotion from the explanation. That's because, in my opinion, it's not a great combo deck. Most players are really well prepared for Monogreen, and most decks can interact with it or outspeed it. I think Monogreen is just popular because it's fun, and people like playing big, splashy mythic rares. It does not perform very well in tournaments generally, but it's played everywhere. So I think players just like the deck and it's fun. And admittedly, it is a turn your brain off, Monogreen go burr. So how do we fix Pioneer? First of all, I believe a ban is actually kind of out of the question. A lot of people are saying, oh man, why is there not a ban for Pioneer in the last ban announcement? But what are you going to ban? Are you going to ban like Fable the Mirror Breaker? Are you going to ban Arclight Phoenix? Are you going to ban Karn the Great Creator? Because all this is going to do is just destroy an archetype. I think a ban would be more a product of Salt than reason, if we're being honest. And I think it's just important for people to remember too that they have bad matchups. Like if you build a deck that's really bad into a very popular deck in the meta, you're going to struggle against that deck. That doesn't make it broken. And before I move on to the actual solution, I'm going to reaffirm that people just need to get better at mulliganing. I don't think people mulligan enough, and they don't mulligan well. Mulliganing is a really important part of modern Magic, and you just can't get away with not doing that, I'm sorry. And let's keep in mind too, that even in your perfect dream format, you'll still lose if you're bad at mulliganing. I think Pioneer needs to have more catch-all interaction available to more colors and strategies. So competitive Magic is best when both players make multiple decisions a turn. Even though slamming 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop is fun, the game should be more complex and interesting. And I'm talking about combat tricks, removal, etc. While the current removal is good, it's very niche and problematic. Like a few differences we have, right, is like we don't have fetch lands, so like things like Fatal Push don't work all the time. Fiery Impulse does 2 damage, but can do 3 damage. You have like, we're working with really funny 2-mana removal, so you might run cards like Power Word Kill, but you're going to run into an Angels deck, which is pretty rough. I think Pioneer also probably needs an improvement to its stack suite. I want to say it needs something akin to Blood Moon that also takes into account the lack of fetch lands in the format, because Blood Moon would be too much for this format. Like, we just can't function with that card in our format because our mana bases are like all non-basics, but people need to run more basics, and there needs to be more interaction with the lands, I think, for sure. But more examples of this, I think, could be like Collector Oof, Stony Silence, Relic of Progenitus, Ranger Captain of Eos. I think all those cards would be great in Pioneer, and I don't think they would break the format. So you're probably asking yourself at this point, okay, so you offered a solution. How do we get this in Pioneer? And realistically, the answer is we have to wait for Wizards to print them, and that sucks really bad. But they did announce an initiative earlier this year to fix constructed formats. If that is a genuine initiative, if that's a thing that Wizards of the Coast is actually working on, this could be right around the corner. So why do we have to wait for Wizards instead of just banning everything? I kind of touched on this already, but I think the selling point of Pioneer is the really cool strategies that are available. Like, where else in what constructed format can you play Parhelion 2, Nicol Bolas Dragon God, and Worldspine Worm? These aren't even playable in Commander, by the way. Like you could say they are casually, but no, you're not running this in CDH. You're not seeing these cards there. Banning out these really cool strategies will devalue the format and destroy player trust and interest. It's not going to make things better. It's just going to leave this format with nothing. Nobody will want to play it. Why would you play a format with nothing cool in it? What we need to do is we need to make the format back and forth, but we need to keep the cool things because this is how we attract new players, and this is honestly how we have fun playing the format. At the end of the day, Magic is a game and it should be fun. Players need to be able to be creative and need freedom of expression in their deck list. And while I believe that Pioneer as it is now is better than Public Opinion lets on, I do think that adjustments to the format could allow it to become one of the best of all time. If you agree with me, I would love to know in the comment section down below. And if you don't, that's okay too. Let me know. Tell me what you think. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you. And if you could for me, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I would love to do more content like this. If I see a lot of support in this video, I will definitely make more videos about Magic. Regardless, I'll catch all y'all in the next one.